BMAI is one of the younger sports brands in China. It's got about a decade of history. But they are a brand that focuses on running. And as for their flagship product, it got updated in just about 4 months with the release of the turbo version. Did they mess something up? Did the update actually make it better? Today, let's talk about the BMAI JingTan 3.0 Turbo. I created this channel to review running products from Chinese brands and improve my English speaking. Before I get into my thoughts on the BMAI JingTan 3.0 Turbo, I do want to go over some disclosures. No one's paying me to make this video, and I bought this pair with my own money. Money doesn't grow on trees, but I will say what I have to say. Before diving into the specs, I want to talk about the name of this shoe. Every time I record a video, I gotta figure out what to call a shoe, cause sometimes they have different names overseas and in China. But this time I really ran into trouble. After searching, two semi-official websites listed it as Carbon Shock 3.0 Turbo and 42K Turbo 3.0, while other overseas shopping sites called it Amazing Carbon and Shock Carbon. I was like, what the heck? Even though the company is young, it's been around for 10 years. Shouldn't the official Chinese and English name be unified before the shoes goes on market? This is baffling. So let me just stick to calling it by its Chinese pinyin name for the rest of the video. The BMAI JingTan 3.0 Turbo has a stack height of 29.5 at the forefoot and 34 at the heel, with a 4.5mm drop. This low drop is often seen in race day shoes, which promotes midfoot or forefoot landing and improves energy efficiency. Indeed, this shoe is positioned as a flagship marathon racing lightweight shoe in BMAI's lineup. For the 3.0 Turbo, they used a Puma-based embryo foam. If you are interested in foaming technology, I covered it in X-Tab 160X 6.5 video. Simply put, it's like turning a dough into bread. The upper is a non-stretch single-layered mesh with excellent breathability. Recently, I've been wearing my thickest wool socks with these shoes and haven't felt overheat. The toe box is plenty of volume, no problem for wide feet. The also is something BMAI calls DSP. In fact, on the shopping descriptions, it translates to CPU also. It has pretty good traction. As for the durability, the official claim is that the midsole can last up to 600 km without significant degradation. I think it might be a shoe where the midsole fails before the outsole, so discussing outsole durability might not be that meaningful. But I also have to point out that this isn't just a BMAI issue. When you are looking to buy any super lightweight shoes, you gotta know that its lifespan is usually pretty short. I remember seeing on the box of one of On's running shoes that it's only meant for 2 marathons. Alright, the weight of my size 45 is 205 grams. It's true to size. For reference, I usually wear size 45 in Chinese brands and size 46 in Hoka and New Balance. After the basics, let's take a look at the details. This tongue has 3 eyelets to keep it from moving. The heel padding has been updated compared to the 3.0, changing from 2 small pillow-like pads to a full wrap-around padding. The comfort is improved, but I still feel a bit of heel slippage. Given its racing focus, the lack of a heel counter isn't surprising. In fact, the shoe's stability has been excellent during my recent runs. The collar is made of a soft suede-like material and combined with the undyed white colorway. It gives off a really gentle vibe. The font on the side is in traditional Chinese ink style, and the minimalist design really appeals to me. In a way, this trend was started by Adidas Evo 1, and it seems to have become a common language of ultralight race day shoes. Speaking of Adidas, let's talk about the story behind the 3.0 Turbo, the 3.0, and the Adidas Lightstrike Pro foam. I saw an interview with BMAI's CEO on Chinese social media. When asked why they released the 3.0 Turbo in just 4 months, he mentioned the production capacity issues. I did some digging into this. For the 3.0, their supplier was Sincell from Suzhou, China. I bet most people never heard of this company, but it's actually a star in shoe midsole manufacturing technology. The Light Strike Pro foam used in Adidas Evo 1 comes from this company, and they proudly display this achievement on their official website. I will put the link down below. For the 3.0, they used the same foaming process as Light Strike Pro, but the downside was that for every 10 midsoles they made, 8 had to be scrapped, and only 2 pairs of shoes could be made. I think the production capacity issue is just one side of the story. I suspect that the high scrap rate directly led to high costs. For a $500 Evo 1, it's no big deal, but for a $100 BMAI, it's unacceptable. This is the biggest change in the 3.0 compared to the 3.0 Turbo. It went from sheet foaming to embryo foaming. The character of the shoe changed along with it, which I will discuss in my running experience. I spent quite a bit of time talking about the midsole foam, hoping to give my audience a clear picture of where Chinese manufacturing stands in the global running shoe supply chain through these lesser-known facts. With that out of the way, let's talk about the pros and cons of actual running in it. When considering whether to list softness as a pro, I hesitated because softness is a complex feature. For most runners, softness is a pro, but for highly efficient runners or a shoe positioned as a flagship racer, softness might not be an advantage. I just got over the flu recently. My heart rate was a bit high. In the week I spent with these shoes, I was mostly doing fartleks. In those fast and slow intervals, I found it to be very forgiving. At slower paces and recovery paces, it actually feels a lot less harsh than other super shoes I've tried so far. Sometimes with super shoes, it's hard to find a rhythm at slower pace, but because its cushioning is so soft and comfort, it works well. But when I picked up the pace, the softness started to be a bit mushy, with a sinking sensation. I weigh 68 kg, and I think the heavier the runner, the more you will feel this at faster paces. On the other hand, lighter runners or female runners might find it amazing, soft and bouncy. As I mentioned earlier, I've been wearing my thickest wool socks with these shoes. That's because the shoe, in pursuit of lightness, doesn't have a traditional insole. Instead, it has a piece of flocking fabric in direct contact with the foot. This is where the main downside of the shoe lies. You can't see the seam at the heel, but if you move the camera forward, you will see a circle of stitching. The first time I wore thin socks, after 12 kilometers, I started to feel an odd sensation under my big toe. I considered adding an insole, but that would make the toe box too tight. If you were worried about this, I suggest buying at least half a size up, so you can fit an insole in there. Also, this flocking fabric is a bit slippery, and I find myself unconsciously curling my toes to grip the ground while running. That can't be good in long run. The last con isn't related to running experience. According to the official claim, the 3.0 Turbo is 5.7% lighter than the 3.0, but when I actually weighed them, the 3.0 Turbo was 205 grams, and the 3.0 was 196 grams. For an average runner like me, a difference of less than 10 grams is nothing. But it shouldn't go against advertisement, right? To be polite, I can only say it's very disappointing. While wrapping up this video, I want to compare it with other shoes. When I ran in it for the last time, the more I ran, the more it felt like another pair of shoes. They were just collecting dust in my closet. I dug them out and went for a run before the sunset. It was the New Balance RC Elite V2 from about 3 years ago. At slower paces, if you ignore the differences in drop, I would say they feel almost identical. At faster paces, the BMAI JingTan 3.0 Turbo's forefoot feels softer and bouncier. But I'm not talking about them just because they feel similar. It's because they are both mild super shoes. In the comments on my channel, people often ask if a certain shoe is good for slower paces. I wouldn't shy away from recommending a super shoe for slower runners. For marathoners, the slower paces actually benefit more from cushioning, because you are out there longer, and that cushioning really saves your legs. If we look at other shoes, I believe the Puma Deviate Nitro 2 has become a versatile option for many runners because it's also quite mild. I think the BMAI JingTan 3.0 Turbo falls into the same category. On one hand, its carbon plate isn't overly aggressive. On the other hand, its midsole density is low for lightweight purpose, resulting in a softer feel. The foam absorbs impact from the road, and the lightness of the shoe is definitely appreciated. I really like the shoe as a training companion, but I wouldn't want it as my racing shoes. If you are looking for a racer with a feel closer to Adidas Adios Pro 3, go for the 3.0. But as for the 3.0 Turbo itself, is one of those shoes where you don't have to run fast to get the benefits. Those are my thoughts on the BMAI JingTan 3.0 Turbo after 40 kilometers. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this shoe or any tips on improving English speaking. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. I'll bring you more about Chinese running products. Please follow me and hope you have a good one.